Yes, welcome to the Riffin with Jeza podcast. I'm going to quickly get to the point because I started and then it stopped. So yes, the last podcast I was practicing this thing about not checking the phone early, and it's definitely working. I would say just on that front, I would say that I haven't kept up with it that much, but my discipline in general has definitely improved, which is kind of exciting because it's been a long time coming. Like I really got off the rails quite a lot during the COVID's era. Just it's amazing how alcohol can sort of hypnotise you, and I'm pretty much that's way better. And the thing I find is what works for me is systems, So at the moment I'm starting to do a bit more fasting. I have a system where I can drink, but I have to put it in my diary. And that at the moment is sort of restricting me to about once a week or something, which is not too bad, So that means predominantly I'm clean, and my goal is kind of when I do drink to have not that much, not get drunk. So I'm finding for my personality doesn't really like too many rules, and I've gone without alcohol lots of times. When I said lots of times, that's kind of funny. I think 2 or 3 times I've done a month without alcohol, and I did feel great, but then I went back to it. And so now I'm sort of trying a different approach where basically I factor in drinking, but it's super moderate. And basically, I know in myself what feels okay and what doesn't feel okay, but psychologically as well. So, for example, the other night, I definitely got pretty tipsy. Had 4 beers actually, and I went to bed a bit tipsy. I woke up a bit, bit funny. But this didn't feel over the top. Like might have been maybe a tiny bit much, but it didn't feel like only having done this once in a week. Only having done this once in a week, I felt okay about it. Hi.
Hi, good morning.
Morning. Sorry, yeah. Only having done, oh shit, the Google Maps is on. Anyway, only having done this once in a week, it didn't actually feel too bad. So, anyway, so it's basically, I've been noticing a cleaner, this little bit more discipline coming through. And it's definitely helping me. Like, I'm quite happy with it. It's feeling like I'm more in control, more in charge. And it's really interesting. I think I'm happier doing that. So basically, I'm the sort of person, I don't really want to be 100% clean. And I don't want to be one of those perfect people. Like, it's just like that kind of militant approach to life. I'm not interested in that, but I do want it to be like quite structured, quite clean, and and have fun, but within a structure that works. So the structure that works is the health stuff, and then and then that's the platform, and then the creativity is the sits on top of that. So so it's interesting. So that's kind of really working, but it's interesting too, because one of the things I've realized is that like when I got to Costa Rica, and I'd been here for about a year, and I had a pretty fun time, challenging at times though. And then I realized But then when I came back from Canada, I realised, I don't really know if I want to be here, actually. You know, I'm kind of sick of the language barrier, you know, that if I put in a lot of effort, I could overcome it, but it's just like, it's just really important, you know, like spending, anyway, it would be nice. But anyway, long story short, you know, I started to sort of think, oh, is this really worth it, you know? And just hassles, just, you know, it's harder to do stuff here. You know, it's harder to do banking, it's harder to do everything. Mainly the language, but also stuff is fairly inefficient. The power goes off a lot, the internet goes off a lot. There's a little bit more security issues, not massively more than where I was in Canada. Everywhere across the world is getting security concerns, you know, because of shenanigans, and a solution coming for that soon. So anyway, but what I was able to do is I was able to use the you know, my unhappiness, the leverage of being unhappy, like, because I basically thought, well, if I'm going to be fucking unhappy, let's get some shit done. So that's pretty much what I thought, you know. I thought, I'm a miserable bastard, but I'm going to get some shit done, you know. So, and I thought, look, I can't fucking leave here, you know, tomorrow. I've just fucking arrived, swearing a fair bit here. And so, you know, I just thought, okay, let's just smash it out to the end of the year. And, you know, and then after that, let's, you know, after that, sorry, I just got distracted. After that, then let's maybe move and let's decide what we want to do, you know. And so I've got a couple things in mind. Panama, Nashville. Look at these fuckwit dogs. See, this is one of the things that pisses me here. These moronic dogs. I only just realised I'd passed. And now they're barking. But it's too late, fuckers. I have a little zapper that creates some sort of high frequency thing. Only they can hear, but they don't like it, and it definitely helps for some dogs. Because basically here, there's so many times just walking along and the fucking dogs come up to you and start hassling you. So that's annoying too. So it's interesting. Anyway, so basically I thought I'm going to use this unhappiness as leverage. And I mean, it's early days, like I've lost maybe 6 pounds or something. Not a lot of weight. But I'm definitely on a track, and I've definitely cut back alcohol to only once a week, roughly. I don't have a hard fast rule, but that's sort of in my mind. I'm not wanting to drink much more than that, you know. And when I do, not much. So I enjoy getting tipsy. So sort of having one or two is almost not worth it, you know. So but the fact that I have to put it in my diary helps. Anyway, long story short, the leverage of being unhappy here is actually working for me. When I first got to Costa Rica, I was just, you know, I was earning a fair bit of money, and I was living it up in resorts and stuff, but I didn't have a platform of discipline as much. And so now this is a much more humble existence, but I've got a discipline happening so that, you know, when that existence returns again, you know, which it hopefully will, like, then there's a bit more of a platform there. So that's interesting. So this idea of leverage is kind of interesting, because I've sort of been dabbling with health practices, with issues with drinking, you know, with all this stuff, like for years, pretty much since COVID. So things got out of control in COVID, and then, but what was sort of, I didn't realise is that alcohol can sometimes hypnotise you a bit. Like it shifts your energy, so you don't feel like doing stuff as much, you know, so you feel more negative. And then you start attracting people around that vibration. Like, it's quite incredible. You know, I would start attracting people it would rip me off. There'd be more conflicts. It's incredible. And since I've been in Costa Rica, because I haven't been as happy, I've had more conflicts. It's incredible how that works. Yeah, so that discipline and leverage is an interesting concept. But I basically, at this point, I'm probably going to leave here within a month or two. Just because I feel like, well, it just doesn't feel like this is making me. This is fairly much a retirement community. Costa Rica is probably one of the most beautiful countries there is. Well, there's no question around that. But I think I've just realised I'm a bit of a modern girl, So, like, I like modern conveniences, So I'm not even sure that Costa Rica is going to be free of the digital control grid anyway. So you kind of get the worst of both worlds. Yeah, so anyway, what else? So leverage, that's an interesting thing. And yes, I'm probably going to leave here, and I've kind of got a few places in mind. Maybe Panama, Nashville to check out my music, maybe back to Canada. And yeah, I don't think I want to be just focused in. I don't think I want to have all my eggs back in Australia, but I'm just really enjoying the aspect of, I'm just going to get disciplined again, get really structured, get a routine happening, all that stuff. Because it has this aspect of quietening the mind, and you feel in control, and your nervous system, I think it likes structure. This is what I've come to realise. It's quite amazing. And so by the time I leave here, I'm actually hoping that I'll even feel slightly sentimental about it, because so that I won't sort of sentimental in the fact that I don't think you want to be leaving anywhere with a bad feeling, because I've just noticed that feeling seems to follow you, So I had a little bit of conflict in Canada, and then it just followed me. So this is one of these curious things that no matter what the situation is, it doesn't even matter if it wasn't your fault, no matter what the situation is, if you carry emotional baggage around it, you just attract more of the same. Even if you're the victim and didn't, quote unquote victim, and didn't sort of call it in consciously. So I'm hoping that I leave here on good terms, so we're definitely heading in that direction with some work to do. But I'm excited about kind of getting a bit more back into a modern economy, and I want to do more collaborative recordings with people as well. So that's kind of cool. Hola. That's kind of cool. So, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see what it does. But in terms of a home, it's really up there, in terms of where I'm going. It is completely up in the air. But I've been on the road now for a couple of years, and I've started to. A cool thing about that is you start to trust your spirit, your guidance, telling you what to do. And okay, classic. You start to trust your guidance and what you want to do, which is a cool way to live. I mean, there's been a few situations I've thought, fuck, how am I going to get, hola, how am I going to get out of this situation? What am I'm in, a bit of a pickle here. But it's interesting. Those situations I was always protected, as always something came through even though at times it was, you know, it's a little hairy here or there. So yeah, so I think to summarise, because it's always good to get into a focus point to contemplate, you know. So I'm a songwriter, and like it's always good I tell my songwriting partner, it's always good to have a motif or like a central thing you're saying, because it's a way of focusing the mind and bringing back to what you're really trying to communicate. You can say a bunch of stuff that's cool, but then as the person leaves the experience, they need simplicity, you know. And so the simplicity here, as I said, all this stuff is my learnings with myself, and that's it. Like, so it's sort of, you know, many times on this, you know, on this podcast, I've talked about how I was going to do this, going to do that, and didn't. So it's not really about me as the beacon of, you know, discipline or perfection, but it's just the reflection of it might be helpful. But anyway, it's helpful to me, so that's why I'm doing it basically. Anyway, long story short, the thing that's coming through at the moment, wow, this is quite beautiful. This is like, I'm on this lake with cows, and it's really quite stunning. It's really beautiful. You couldn't say Costa Rica isn't beautiful. It really is. I mean, not every part, but it has so much beauty. It's incredible. Anyway, to get back to my point, if I think about the structure, yeah, like the power of structure and leverage is just quite incredible. Sorry, hassled by another dog. It's just a tiny dog actually. I probably didn't need to do anything. Yeah, so the power of structure. Like, this is what I've come to. A schedule and structure. And so, because then from that place, like, there's more, because essentially what it does, what it seems to be doing, is it's settling my nervous system and settling my emotions. And so then I can get greater perspective on these decisions, because really, like, I'm making decisions about where I'm going to live, like fairly massive decisions, you know, and so I need that to be coming from stillness. You know, there's a girl here, nice girl, but fuck, like, she's just, it's never ending drama. She tells me all these stories and it just never ends. Just different face, you know, same situation, different face. So, and it's like, and she's never at fault. And so, I mean, you know, people like that, I sort of I don't cut them usually unless it's a problem, but I give them a fairly wide berth, because it's just, you know, like, it's just, at some point you'll end up coming into the drama. But anyway, the point is that, you know, someone will be radiating with a certain frequency or vibration or emotion, and that will be pulling in experiences. And so, you know, one of the things discipline and structure does is that, as I said, this is my own learning. You know, this is not me preaching. This is as I'm starting to rediscover something I was already doing years ago, but just fell out of, you know. And so it calms the nervous system, and then you feel better, and then you start to be more connected to your spirit, and then you can actually get more on track. It's quite an interesting thing. So anywhere that you're unhappy with, essentially what I feel is that you have to actually become okay with it first. So you can still use it to make decisions and leave a place or decide on something, but you still have to sort of like calm down the reactive emotional part of your experience of it. Because otherwise you'll just repeat more stuff. And if you make a decision from that state of mind, it's definitely not going to be helpful. Yeah, so this is one of the interesting things that I'm actually finding is actually, wow, this is so beautiful here. Incredible. There's some spots here that are just stellar. So this is one of the things I'm just finding that you're controlling your emotional, or soothing your emotional body, calming your emotional body, getting centered. And discipline, I mean, it sounds boring, but discipline is kind of a way to do that. And everyone's kind of got to do what works for them. I mean, for me, fasting is not bad actually, because I'm a bit of an all or nothing person. So I sort of, in some ways, this contradicts what I said about the alcohol, but what I mean is that it's just easier for me to fast and be a little bit hungry and then have food, and then when I have food, have a lot more. Like, that is much more enjoyable to me than kind of trying to moderate or whatever. But it's just interesting because it's sort of like the structure really overlaps into other things. Years ago I lost about 30 kilograms and wow, this is so beautiful. I lost about 30 kilograms and it really spiritually changed me. It was pretty fucking cool. Like, it's quite monumental. Like, I actually felt differently about it. So, interesting. Anyway, yeah, structure, leverage. That seems to be what's coming through today. Anyway, so have a cracker of a day. And yeah, hasta luego from Costa Rica.
Riffin with Jeza. We're riffin with Jeza.